basically, I'm going to talk about zero trust. That really working on leveraging advanced technologies such as multi-factor authentication. We all know that we have factors of authentication. One is who you are, which is biometrics, things like fingerprints, things like iris, things like facial recognition, voice recognition that actually Safaricom has implemented, and so on. And then we do have, apart from who you are, we have what you know, which is now we are talking about PIN, we are talking about passwords, and so on. And the last one we have is what you have, which we are talking about OTPs, things like smart card, ATM cards, and so on, keys, and so on. So zero trust is revelating this kind of technology, which we call multi-factor authentication. Other things that it's also leveraging is identity and access management, which is IAM, and of course making sure that it validates end users, all end users. So zero trust, by definition, this is a security concept that requires all users, even those from inside. We have heard discussion just a while ago about insider threats. People from within become threats to organizations. So even those from inside the organization, enterprise network, to be authenticated, authorized, and continuously validating security configurations. In fact, zero trust, it's a departure from traditional network security, whereby it started with the trust there, but it doesn't really verify. So zero trust basically helps organizations to improve controls over many things. Among them, it helps you to know who have access to what data, application, and resources. It also gives you an ability to protect your organization's data, and also reduce an organization attack surfaces, which is very, very important, because if you don't implement this, then you can have a lot of other attack surfaces where people try to get into your data and so on. And also, it prevents lateral attacks by making unauthorized resources unreachable to those attackers as well. So basically, the center of zero trust is data. And that's why when you speak about data protection or data privacy, then zero trust is one of the key things that we need to talk about, because an organization with good visibility of its data and the activities around it can detect easily those suspicious behavior, even if other security controls have been compromised. That's why zero trust is one of the very important things that we have to go through and understand together. So why these things is very important, as I've said before, this is one of the most effective way of organization to control access of their data. Not only data, but also applications, network, and other resources within the organization. Because it combines a wide range of preventive techniques, as I've said earlier, stories of multi-factor authentication, micro-segmentation, endpoint security, and the story of least privilege. And basically, because of that, we believe that the heart of zero trust is all about data security. And data is one of the most important assets today. You remember Caesar mentioned about it, that data today is our gold, data today is our oil, and so on. So basically, data is targeted by many criminals, and this zero trust is there to support protecting these particular data of our within our organization. So core principles of zero trust model, it started with re-examining all default access controls. Because now you remember that most of us, basically my experience show that you go to organization, you find people could not change the default password of their routers, switches, and so on. So when it comes to zero trust now, it started with re-examining all these default access controls, looking at who had requested access to the system, and if that particular person is authenticated and of course has is authorized to use that particular things, and also goes along with the encryption of those particular data that have been transferred from one point to another. In addition, also, it leverages varieties of preventive techniques. As I've mentioned earlier, we have a lot of preventive techniques. We have things like implementing least privilege, implementing the story of two-factor or three-factor, multi-factor authentication, and so on. So zero trust leverage these varieties of preventive techniques. Also, it enables real-time monitoring to identify malicious activities quickly, and in addition, align the broader security strategy, because the security strategy of every organization is not only about doing one thing. For example, implementing zero trust itself, you cannot ensure your organization that can be full secured from many other attacks. So in fact, after you do this particular if you want to implement zero trust model fully, then you should also look at other security strategies within your organization. This is something very important. So I want also to touch quickly, because I wanted to make this more of a discussion and an interactive kind of session. So I want to touch more quickly on how we can achieve this zero trust. We can achieve zero trust by starting with assessing our organization, because the organization has things that it used to have before. It has many things that is put it in place before. When it comes to security, you probably put a lot of measures that probably trying to protect your network, trying to protect your people within your organization, and so on and so on. So you need to assess your organization and look at all these things that you had before, the weaknesses that you have, and so on and so on and so on. And also, you can create a directory of all assets and map the transaction flows within your organization. And after that, you need to establish varieties of preventive measures that you actually I spoke about earlier, the story of micro-segmentation, the story of multi-factor authentication, and so on and so on. And after that, you should not stop there, but you continue monitoring the network. You keep allowing people to make use of those resources within organization, so that if anything suspicious you end up detecting, then you can take it off. So basically, when you talk about zero trust, we speak about zero trust on devices, zero trust on people, zero trust on network, and zero trust on workloads. And when we speak about people, already the previous speaker spoke about insider threats, the story of people within our organization become a malicious insider and cause troubles to organization devices. Not all devices, especially now people working from home. You find people, they have these devices, yes, and they're working from home, but unfortunately people make use of this advantage that people having are working from home. Then they take advantage of accessing a critical infrastructure within your organization, pretending or acting like they are also among your people that used to work with you, but now they are working from home. So you shouldn't allow every device to get access to your system easily. Instead, you need to verify each and every devices. So it's all about those four things. When you talk about zero trust on data, you speak about zero trust on devices that access to your system, zero trust on network, workload, and people as well. Also, in addition, I want to talk about how we can implement zero trust. We have several things that we need to do so that we can at least be able to implement zero trust. One of the thing is that you need to identify sensitive data within your organization, because you have data that lies within organization, data about your customer, data about your people, data about many things within organization. So those data, some of them are sensitive, you categorize them. So you need to identify those sensitive data within your organization, and you need to understand where your data reside and how so that you can do a proper way of protecting your data. And another thing, you need to limit access. Ensure that the granted of these access to your critical infrastructure is only done with what we call based on the need to know. So this is very, very important. In addition, you need to detect threats. You need to monitor all activity related to your data access. If there is any activities that you feel like suspicious, it can bring troubles to your organization, then you can always detect those particular threats. And also use a baseline, which we talk about comparison of your current activities prior to baseline behavior. Because if you find something suspicious, something new getting into your organization that probably it was not there before, or someone used to do this and you know that these things has been done this way and now it's rotated differently, then you can be able to do something about it. And of course, you need also to continue detecting those malicious insider and of course people from outside, so that if anything happens, you can be able to take them off. This is about zero trust. And basically, I want to talk about the way people now look at these particular things and how they feel it's going to be supportive. As I've said, the bigger problem, if you talk about social engineering, if you look at social engineering, insider threats, the bigger problem that caused all these challenges, it's all about trusting people too much. You feel like this person has been working here for the past 10 years, then we can always allow him to do whatever they want, and we cannot have any problem for them having access to our network or our critical infrastructure. Not knowing that people change and people can end up becoming malicious insider, and they can always cause troubles. The sort of insider, that is a sort of insider threats. But in addition, the sort of social engineering, you see people, why people easily fall victims is because they trust people a lot. Give an example of Tanzania. In Tanzania, basically what is happening, people, they trust a lot. When you tell someone that, for example, I lost this and that, and I need your support on this and that, and quickly someone will come at aid. They really love helping, they really trust a lot. And that's what leads to many people falling victim to those kind of attacks. So the story of trust here is one of the serious problems causing a lot of troubles to many organizations as we speak. So that's why when it comes to zero trust, the implementation to different organizations, we encourage people not only to talk about the story of putting these measures of not trusting new devices that working within your organization, or not trusting people and so on, but also you need to make sure that you verify. Not only verifying, you need to compare the previous activity that has been done with the organization, within your organization, and the new challenge that probably you're facing currently. And also you should always monitor if something is you feel like it happened, but you don't really, or you put measures in places and you don't really monitor the activities that are happening, still you can, zero trust may not really support. So my call upon all the participants here, it's to make sure that not only that you implement this zero trust, but you should always continuously monitoring for any other things, and also add other preventive mechanism when it comes to cybersecurity, so that at least you can be able to tell that you are indeed in check when it comes to cyber, away from cyber threats and cyber attacks. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Yusuph, for that elaborate explanation. And zero trust is about verify fast, then trust, right?
A previous way of doing things, we start with trust someone, and they gain access, and then we verify. But here now, what we are doing is we don't trust anyone. Instead, what you'll be doing is you make sure that each and everyone, before they gain access to your system, you start with checking, verifying if those people are the right one or not, and that's when you can grant them access.
So in terms of, yes, in terms of the approach itself, and probably looking at it from an architectural perspective or practical perspective, do you see, okay, fine, I know it's a buzz right now and everyone is trying to figure it out and try to understand. Do you think there's some inherent weaknesses or challenges to zero trust?
I think that, okay, now we implemented this, there is multi-factor authentication in places, there is this micro-segmentation and so on and so on, but then they keep forgetting that if you you don't keep on monitoring, you don't keep on following it up, you can still have a lot of challenges. That's why this is one of the challenges. But another one is we have this story of legacy app, legacy network resources, administrative tools that we put in place so that we can be able to do this zero trust implementation properly. This is another big challenge that we currently have, and also regulations. Most of our regulations in different countries have not yet adapted this zero trust model, which means the organization under compliance will have troubles passing an audit when it comes to the story of zero trust, implementing zero trust model. Another challenge that I've seen, we have visibility and control within the network are often one of the major factors challenging enterprises today when it comes to implementation of zero trust in networks. So these are the major challenges that I've seen recently. There are a lot of things that have been ongoing, or people are trying to do the best they can to see how they can correct these challenges that we currently have. I'll give an example of regulations. Now people are struggling to make sure that regulations that are currently existing can now start understanding and adapting this story of zero trust model.
And I know you mentioned so much about the issue of trust. Of course, verify then trust. But then the issue of trust also comes with even looking at it from a protection lens, data privacy lens. It comes with the issue of identity. You verify and you trust on identity, right? Where does identity issues come in? For example, if you're talking about insider threats, definitely you'll want to authenticate and authorize the staff members of an organization. But then for you to be able to do that, you're basically verifying their identity, that they're actually who they say they are, right? Thereafter, verifying.
Yes, you have to actually verify, because you have to actually verify if they are the ones that they say they are, because for example, when we speak about, for example, the story of multi-factor authentication, if someone is only using password today, accessing an email, and did not, for example, activate the second factor authentication, receiving OTP through SMS or OTP through your email. Mostly the secure one is through SMS. So, for example, receiving OTP through SMS. So if someone managed to get a password of your account or factor authentication, which is OTP, what you have, that particular individual may not have. So that's when now you can verify these individuals that, okay, managed to gain access using this particular password, which is correct, but unfortunately couldn't really put the second authentication to allow us to verify this actual person is actually the person who say he is. Because everyone can get your PIN, anyone can get your PIN or password, but then to have the second factor authentication or the third factor authentication, things like fingerprints and so on, then that would be a little bit difficult. That's when we talk about zero trust, among the things that there are 4 key things that they normally walk around. One is multi-factor authentication, micro-segmentation, verify everything in every devices and every person, and also list privilege, the principle of least privilege, that each person can only have access to what they need to know or they need to work on. For example, I remember I worked with Deloitte back then. They do have things like management consulting, they do have TAS, IS, and so on and so on. TAS is technology advisory services, MC is management consulting, and so on. So if you work within TAS, then you cannot be able to access things that are going on within MC, management consulting, IS, and so on and so on. So these principle of least privilege is one among the key 4 things that Zero Trust is working on. So from that point of view, looking at all these particular things, it will be difficult for individual to be able to play around or causing troubles to your data.
Yeah, very true. And something that just popped in my mind, the issue of identity theft, but I guess if you want, you can comment on that, but, just that's just a thought from my end. And the last question here, as you wrap these up, you might have probably spoken about it a little, but where does the zero trust strategy, approach, architecture, where does it fit into how can it fit into a typical organization's security strategy or program? Because again, I think where to start is something that many people might struggle with.
Actually, as I've said, zero trust, it's a support more on prevention. It helps you on preventing, and but preventing alone is one thing. But also that's why I spoke about keep on detecting. We have other things when it comes to security. We have detecting. We have to continue monitoring, making sure that you detect if there is any threats. Story of being able to recover from challenges, story of being able to respond to incidents, and so on and so on. So zero trust, it's mostly support on data security, one, but two, it lies on that particular area of preventing. So it helps different organizations to prevent different challenges that they can come and cause troubles to their organization. So if you implement it well, with other preventive mechanisms that we currently have, then basically you'll be able to say that now of course you cannot be 100% sure that a attack cannot really get into your organization, but at least you can be in position to say that at least my organization, I've done my homework. If anything happened to my organization, then that is unfortunately, but my homework has been done.
Yeah, fascinating stuff. And I think the quote that I take from
that you have said, it's actually a big problem, and we have. I've been working. Digital forensic investigation is one of my things that I've been working on and I've worked with cybercrime unit and so on. So the story of identity theft is a serious troubles. That's why even when we come to investigation, we normally normally have a lot of things that we look at. For example, if someone managed to make use of your account, he make use of your account, but then, for example, he hack your account and he start posting things on your account. So before we start, we take you, the owner of the account, we look at many things. For example, we have what we call timeline analysis, possession and ownership analysis, and so on and so on, all these kind of things. That yes, account is yours, but were you at that particular time in your account posting this particular post? Because this identity theft, many people are stealing people's identity and start causing chaos, start causing problems. And if you don't do your digital forensic investigation properly, you may end up catching a wrong person and put that particular individual behind bar because you didn't do this analysis, like timeline analysis. The individual was the sort of location analysis. Yes, the post was posted in Nairobi, but at that particular time I was staying in Nakuru, I was in Dar es Salaam, I was in Kigali, and so on and so on. So I was not in that particular location that the post has been posted. There's sort of all these kind of things. So I'm happy that you brought it to audience attention, that this is a little struggling thing, troubling thing, that many people are falling victim to this particular thing. But I want to assure everyone that if the digital forensics investigation is done properly, this is not one of the things that should worry people, because there are all these analyses that are normally done when it comes to looking at exactly what happened and who actually done the incident and so on. So if at all things has been done and you feel like you have been a victim to this particular thing, then the actual person who did the problem will be brought to justice.